25, and 30, 35, and 40, 45, and 55, and 65, and 75, and sold.
The Call of the Auction Man. Starring Rich Ramp. In this episode, Rich gives tips on hosting benefit auctions, gives the top 5 things you shouldn't collect, and discusses what you should know concerning firearm sales at auction. Later, Rich digs into the value of some unique treasures. And I'm Laura Baker, and we're here with the Auction Man. More and more organizations, from local schools and churches to national nonprofits, are utilizing auctions to raise funds and fill the gap left by shrinking budgets. I met up with the Auction Man and asked him to give our listeners some valuable tips to help ensure a successful event.
Wow, benefit auctions. Good time to talk about one. We just had a barn burner at the Beloit Historical Society. I mean, it worked really well. We had a great committee. To have a good benefit auction, you have to have a good committee. If you have a good committee, it can make the auctioneer's job easier. It will make everyone on the committee's job easier because everybody pulls their own weight or more than their own weight. So it's like having a team of horses and everybody is pulling. You don't have one horse pulling the whole wagon. I think that benefit auctions in themselves are a great way to raise money. There's no other way you can raise the amount of money in one night that you can at a benefit auction. You can't do it at a cakewalk. You can't do it at a bake sale. You can't do it at a garage sale. You can't do it at a book sale. You can do it maybe with a letter to your memberships. But having a fun benefit auction that everyone has a good time at and goes away liking the event is a plus for everyone. Hiring a professional auctioneer to do your benefit auction is probably the best money you could spend. Some of the best things to have at a benefit auction are trips and food. People like to travel and people like to eat.
And what makes a live auction much more successful than a silent auction?
Well, it's like every live auction. I mean, a benefit auction is no different than a regular auction. People get caught up in the bidding. They want to show that they can outbid someone. I was at an auction, and I won't say where it was at. It wasn't in Beloit, but it was at a very, very high-end auction where we were selling round-the-world plane tickets and $25,000 necklaces, and everyone was there to impress everyone else.
Here are some tips that Rich has when planning a benefit auction. Number 1, plan early and be thorough. Planning should start at least 10 or 11 months before the actual event. This will give you enough time to secure a venue if you need, recruit enough volunteers, and procure the auction items. This is extremely important for the success of your benefit auction. Number 2, don't try to do it by yourself. Make sure that you establish a committee of dedicated volunteers and divide their responsibility up. So one volunteer could be in charge of procurement, another could be in charge of getting the venue and making sure that the decorations are all set up. Make sure that everyone is doing their share. Number 3, get the right items. Procurement is one of the most important aspects for auction success, and when determining what items you plan on auctioning, keep in mind your attendees and their likes and interests. Number 4, spread the word. Make sure to publicize your event well in advance. Send a save the date notification 6 months before your event and invitations about 6 to 8 weeks in advance. Utilize any public relations and advertising opportunities to help increase the visibility to your auction, its sponsors and volunteers, and any unique auction items that you have. Number 5, make sure to say thank you. Even after the auction is over, There's still a lot of work that needs to be done. Thank your volunteers and the staff, and thank your sponsors and donors for their important contributions to your auction program. The collectibles market has drastically changed in the years since the advent of the internet. Today, collectors can access items being sold all over the world instead of being just limited to their geographic location. The collector's market encompasses a wide range of items. Many are rare and sought after. However, our auction man has determined several items that you should not collect.
Oh, there's so many things you shouldn't collect, but I would guess probably if you had to just start with one thing you shouldn't collect, it should be anything that says limited edition on it. If it says limited edition on it, it really is limited to the amount of things they can sell. It has nothing to do with really being rare. That probably starts with the Franklin Mint collectible items. And they're well made, don't get me wrong, if you like them you should buy them, but don't buy them as an investment. Snow babies, the Department 56 items, which are another limited edition item type thing. Hummels, okay, there's another big no-no. They're not worth anywhere what the Hummel market used to be like. Beanie Babies, there's a good one. We used to have Beanie Baby auctions, and we would sell Beanie Babies for $700, $800, $900, $1,000 for a Beanie Baby. Think about this, everyone. Talk about a really, really false market. And it fell out really fast. You got a $2 toy selling for $1,000. It doesn't make any sense. Precious moments are another thing that people have huge amounts of. And we'll walk into a house and they'll have a china cabinet full of precious moments. So the top 5, I would say, are Hummels, Franklin Mints items, precious moments, Beanie Babies, and anything else that you pick up and it says limited edition on the bottom of it.
So, firearms. Firearms are becoming very popular at auctions. You have, coming up this week, is a firearm auction.
On Saturday the 29th, yeah, on the 11th. We have a firearm auction coming up. I mean, it's not just a firearm auction. We call it a sporting goods auction because there's more than just firearms. I mean, there's a full mount caribou here. There's a black bear rug. And then there's some dynamite firearms.
But even buying and selling guns at auction, there are still a few laws that must be taken into consideration.
Well, it doesn't affect the buyers too much, okay? The buying at auction. I mean, you just have to be able to pass a background check if you buy at auction. If you buy in Beloit, we'll say, and you're from Illinois or you're from Michigan or you're from some other state, that gun then needs to be sent to an FFL, which is a federal firearms licensee in that state. We hold a federal firearms license here, so we can send it to their building. And that license pertains to a person and a building. But so we'll be sending it to that person. And then that person will do the paperwork if you're in Illinois or you're in California or you're in Michigan. And if you're from Wisconsin, it's no big deal. You just have to pass a background check and take the gun with you. There's a 48-hour holding period on a handgun. Long guns you can take as long as you pass a background check. The one thing you have to be careful with buying at auction is if you're buying at a non-FFL auction, licensee auction, and you buy guns, you have to be a little careful of what you're buying and what you're getting. You know, a lot of auctioneers just sell them and they don't have licenses and they're out there just selling guns. I think that's going to come to an end pretty quickly. I think that the government will step in and probably stop that from happening. I think the gun show thing is kind of a exception there that they're not going to ever be able to get around, and that's always been there. The gun show issue has always been there, and a lot of people take guns to gun shows and just sell them. It happens. As a private individual, you have the right to sell your guns, and you should have the right to sell your guns any way you want to.
We've reached the part of the podcast where listeners like yourself can submit photos and basic information about items that you want to know what it's worth. Submit your questions and photos to rich@beloitauction.com, and we may feature it in an upcoming podcast. Bev Doolittle was born and raised in California. In 1968, she graduated from the Art Center College of Design in Los Angeles, where she met her husband, Jay. They started their married life together with a painting trip to Bryce Canyon and Zion National Parks. a portion of some of the things to come in their future. For the next 5 years, however, the Doolittles were mainly engaged in advertising art and TV productions in Los Angeles. While they admit that it paid well, it wasn't really what Bev wanted to do. Bev was inspired by nature and began painting on a regular basis. Now, most of Bev Doolittle's prints are sold out and only available on the secondary market, while many have increased in value several times over and are still sought after by collectors and fans of her artwork and paintings.
This is a set of 7 lithographs, and they're called the Hide and Seek lithograph by Bev Doolittle. Bev Doolittle is a prolific lithograph artist. She does a lot of Native American art and Western art, and she's very good, and she's very popular. All her stuff is signed and numbered.
But how much would it sell for?
That set of 7 is probably worth somewhere around $2,000. This next piece we have is a piece of R.S. Prussia. R.S. Prussia was very, very popular 1870s to the turn of the century. It was high-quality china made in Prussia. It's not as collectible as it used to be. 25 years ago, this same cream pitcher that we're looking at right here would have sold for $125. Today, in today's market, to give you some idea what this market has done, this pitcher might bring $25.
So what's your next what it's worth item, Rich?
The next item is, and this is something that a lot of your folks may have or you may have around. This is Fostoria American. This is kind of a cubic pattern of glassware. It's heavy-duty Fostoria, and Fostoria is a really good glass company that makes quality glass. I mean, this is really good stuff, but there's a lot of it around. This was so popular that almost every house had some of this around.
But how much would it sell for?
This set should bring somewhere around $200 for the complete set.
If you have an item and want to know what it's worth, please send your picture along with basic information to rich@beloitauction.com. So what are Rich's top picks at auction this week?
First thing we have for top picks is a Winchester Model 21. It's a skeet and trap side-by-side double barrel. It's from the 1930s, 40s, somewhere in that range. It's a really early Winchester shotgun, and it's in excellent condition. This will be sold Saturday, the 29th, to the highest bidder. The next thing we have, I kind of like the Winchester Hornet. It's a 22 Hornet, which is a little larger than a 22 long rifle. It's like a varmint rifle, and it's a really nice rifle. And if you're going to be out shooting coyotes or whatever you're going to be shooting with it, or whatever you want to do, it's just a nice gun. There's a really unusual pistol we have in this sale, and it's from Vietnam. There was only 10,000 of these made. It was made by the French. It's a 7.65 caliber semi-automatic pistol that the French sent over to Vietnam from sometime between 1935 and 1954 when the French left and we went to Vietnam. Supposedly most of these were destroyed then, but this pistol somehow ended up in the hands of the Viet Cong and then was captured by one of our military officers, Viet Cong officer or Viet Cong person. And so with this pistol we also have the Viet Cong identification card and all the government release papers with it. So it's got a lot of documentation. And there's a pair of Colt Officers 38 officers pistols out there. A matched pair of Colt officers pistols that are really nice. They're in a box, they're in a presentation box. They've got ivory handles. And you can see all this online. You can go to our website, beloitauction.com, go to the online bidding platform and see every one of these guns.
If you'd like to see more items that Rich has for auction today, stop in at his website at beloitauction.com or check him out on Facebook. Or if you'd like the auction man to shed light on a question you have about auctions or something you have in your collection, drop him a line at rich@beloitauction.com. The Call of the Auction Man is a Beloit Auction production. Beloit Auction is the proud winner of the 2014 WAA Best of Show Marketing Award.